All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Good. I'm here. I'm happy.
You are here.
I'm very happy.
Who are you?
I am Madison Brunailer, and I play Narcissa Malfoy.
Narcissa.
The greatest and most wonderful of all witches.
We actually already knew who you were, because if we didn't know who you were, it would have freaked us out.
I just am here.
I
I just walk in and like, hi, I'm going to be in your podcast now, and you have to deal with it.
Well, we got to figure, just got to roll with it.
Yeah,
Gotta roll with it.
You are a
number
total
one
stranger.
improv.
Nice
Just
to meet
yes
you, total
and.
stranger. I don't even want to know your name. Let's
I'm just that interested.
Let's figure it out. It's Jeopardy. YouTube voice actors for 100, please, Alex. Oh. All right, welcome to Great Wizarding War Talks Back, episode 6. We are talking about episode 6, and some pretty kooky stuff happened in this episode. I'd say quite a bit of character development, yes?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a dark episode that I love that we're calling it kooky.
Yep.
It's a kooky.
You know, just some, some
Just some fun
wackiness.
shenanigans.
Just
The
a bunch
darker-
of wacky wizard stuff happening
The
here.
darker it is, the funner the adjective.
Yes.
So, like,
and
if you-
also the more fun that we have while
Oh,
recording
you
it.
know, those zany Death Eaters.
Man, when we get to the
We should have
final
our own
episode,
sitcom.
everything's going to be so full of kittens and babies and happiness and
Everyone's just
cupcakes.
gonna
I mean,
So happy.
they're all dying, but they're there.
Yeah, it's fine. They're just killing people.
There's cupcakes somewhere.
Yeah, in the world.
There's-
Definitely in the wizarding world, there's cupcakes somewhere.
They're not central to the plot, but I'm sure they're somewhere.
Hagrid somewhere is making really bad cupcakes.
Yes. So, Madison,
Yes.
tell us. I don't even remember anymore. So I want you to tell me how we met.
Oh, this is. Do you want the long story or a short story?
I want the medium story.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you've been like, you joined us officially for this, but
Yes.
you've almost felt like you've been with our groups for a long time
I've,
now.
Yeah.
I've been following you guys for a while because I was one of the original backers for the Severus Snape and the Marauders Kickstarter campaign. And
That
when
is
that
a while
happened-
ago.
It was a while ago. But when it happened, I was like, oh man, I want to be a part of this. Shoot, casting's already done. Well, I'll give them money instead. And then maybe one day I can bribe my way in. And then just as I followed the story, as everything that happened, I ended up becoming friends with a lot of you guys on Facebook. And then I got invited to the premiere in Hollywood for it. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to that. And then I actually got to meet all of you officially.
Oh, that's when we officially met as the
That's when we officially
premiere.
met. I think I made a
All right.
video for it on my YouTube channel.
We were
Oh,
all
yeah,
in
it's a
such
great
nice
video, too.
suits and everything, too.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good. And then when you announced Wizarding War, I was like, I have to at least audition for this.
Yes.
And then I auditioned like 6 times for different roles. I was just like, I don't even care. I'm excited to be just putting my name out there at least. I
Right.
did the thing I couldn't do for Severus Snape and the Marauders. And I
Right.
actually was able to audition.
And
Yes.
as soon as her second check cleared, she was in.
So I was like,
No,
yeah,
Let
totally.
me double check. Yeah, she's still on the Patreon, so we're good there.
Good, we can cancel those replacements. All right, anyway, go on.
Good. Oh, excellent. Yeah. Yeah. So then I didn't get in for the first round of casting, but I auditioned for like 4 people. And then the second round of casting happened, and I saw it for Narcissa. And I was like, oh, I would love to play Narcissa.
Yeah, there's
She's
only
so awesome
There's
and
a-
so underappreciated.
there was only a couple of people that I was considering for Narcissa, and it was you and one other person, and that other person didn't even respond when I said, "Would you like to audition?" So I was like,
Well,
she
clearly
gets it.
good, because I wanted it.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about Narcissa. She's kind of like this. We've just introduced her.
Yeah.
Like she starts talking to
Are
Lucius.
you implying that there's going to be more of her?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
We're not just going to drop character arcs like that. We're not American Horror Story.
Oh,
We're gonna
good.
to the
Shots
end of a
fired.
character's arc. I don't know
Gonna
why I
need-
just got angry at American
Gonna need
Horror
some
Story. Go
ice
on.
for that burn.
Well, I'm excited because I want to play Narcissa all the time.
Yeah, for sure. But what kind of was like every actor has a process, and it's always super interesting for me to hear actors' processes because I have an idea of what the motivations are for a particular character, and they go do their thing, and I'm like, that sounded great. It's in line with what I was thinking, and then they tell me what they were thinking. I'm like, that was totally different than what I was thinking, but it still worked.
Yeah.
So what was your kind of process for
I love
figuring
this.
her out?
So we know so little about Narcissa. She has very little actual screen time in both the books and the movie. So it was like, we have this one pinnacle scene from her where she lies to Voldemort and says that Harry is dead. And that's kind of so pivotal for what I think her character is, because she is terrified at this point of Voldemort.
Right.
But she is willing to lie to his face for the possibility of saving her son. So she is willing to die to save her son. And that is kind of so interesting to me, because it's like, she will do anything for her son.
Sure.
She has that mother instinct, that thing that drives a mother to protect. So it's really interesting to then go back before she's a mother and be like, okay, what is she about?
Right.
And what I found was there is nothing in her life right now that she cannot replace. Like, if she loses her money, she can find a way to get it back. If she loses her status, she can connive her way back. If she loses Lucius, as much as she loves Lucius, and she does, she could find another wealthy pureblood husband to marry. There is nothing that is not irreplaceable in her life right now. So she is wanting kind of everything. She wants status, she wants wealth, she wants power, and Voldemort and being connected to Voldemort allows her, at least she thinks, to get that status. And she's not actually a Death Eater.
Okay.
So she's doing the, I'm going to do the politician kind of way.
Right.
And go up to the ministry level and get that status, while also my husband is maybe greasing the palms of the right people in the darker side.
So what do you think about the, let's assume that she's only been married 2 or 3 years to and she's now Malfoy. What do you think her thoughts are regarding being a Malfoy versus having her responsibilities as a Lestrange, especially considering their reputation in the wizarding world?
Well, I believe she was originally a black.
Black, sorry.
Yeah.
I lost my geek card again. Gotta
We'll
go
edit
get it
that
back.
out.
Yes.
You know how you get it back? You read all 7 books.
Yeah, that's it. And then you listen to
In one
Severus
sitting.
Snape and the Marauders.
Live.
Do it. I think being a Malfoy gives her more poise, because the Malfoy name comes with a lot more status and respect than the Black name. Because the Blacks, while they do have a lot of money and they are purebloods and they do have status, it's kind of a little bit more of the crazy kind of status.
Okay.
Like, we tend to go a little bit overboard. The Malfoys are way higher up. It's like the difference between being the child of a duke and being married to one of the princes of England. It comes with a lot more status and
I
respect.
don't even know if the Lestranges or the Blacks deserve Duke status. The Lestranges,
for-
the Blacks maybe, but let's be honest, the Lestranges are in some bayou in Alabama.
Yeah.
But
so-
it does lead us to something we were talking a lot about as far as the arc of these characters and the different people that were willing to join the Death Eaters. It's very easy for a sort of powerful fascist sort of figurehead to get people who are of lower income, of lower status to join them, because you can promise a lot to them. If they're in some sort of desperation, they're just like, oh, well, I'm in squalor now. They've told me who's to blame for that. And if I join you, I'm going to come out of this in a very high position. But somebody like Narcissa or the Malfoy family, the Lestranges, they're already in high points of power.
It's true.
So what was it in your opinion, if you were to imagine, this war is arising, what made you choose to be on this side of it versus being with the Order? What was it about Voldemort's rise that it's just like, this is the winning team, I can get more out of this than if I were to work against this incoming insurgency?
Well, most of them are Slytherins. And the main aspect of a Slytherin is ambition. And most Slytherins do kind of go after what they want and tend to get it. Not always, but a lot of the time. So, I think she knows a lot of these people from her time at Hogwarts. And so she has a lot more connections with these people and knows that when they go for an objective, they tend to get it. Not always, but a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And she's seen... I'm not sure. No, she wasn't at Hogwarts at the same time as Tom Riddle.
No, definitely not.
But she has seen him in action and get things done.
Of course.
So she's like, this is the winning team. I bet on the winning team. And
she's betting enough to let him use your house.
Yeah.
Well, your husband's house,
Yeah,
but same thing.
She invited them there.
She did. So let's kind of go down like with what we've seen in this episode. Mick, what do you think is going on in Snape's mind when it comes to the training, when it comes to Lucius having a hard time with it, and what do you think is overall like Snape's feeling about him belonging to the Death Eaters, whether they think he belongs, or does he think he belongs there? What do you think is going on through Snape's mind right now?
And then tell us what goes through Peeves' mind, because that performance was
Oh,
fantastic.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Well, Severus in this episode, just what I was talking to earlier as far as why somebody would join Voldemort in the first place. Snape being left where he is at the end of Snape and the Marauders, at this point of kind of losing everything, and Voldemort being able to, bring him up a bit and stroke his ego with knowing that Snape is very powerful, very skilled, a great duelist, great at potions. Basically, kind of reminding him of all of his strengths, building up his ego about his own personal skills.
Right.
So he gets invited into this. He gets invited by Voldemort into this, and gets taken under wing by Luthor. And that is not something that anyone else in this group agreed with initially.
Sure.
They Snape wasn't in some position of high respect amongst a lot of these blue bloods, and even amongst the Carrows and other people who are involved in this. Mm-hmm. So he's of a lower tier. He's coming into this. They're imagining that Snape's just going to be a footman. So him standing on the sidelines after basically the only reason he's here in the first place is because he feels valued, and seeing somebody else do something that he knows he can do better than this. He's standing on the sidelines watching this blue blood, Lucius, young Lucius Malfoy take over and train people. It's like nails on a chalkboard. It's like, and a lot of us.
He just sucks.
Yeah, he sucks.
It's like I am better, and it's driving me nuts.
And we all have moments like that. We all have moments watching somebody do something that we know we can do better, and watching them fail at it.
So
it's
film set.
Yeah.
Or watching your parents
sets,
trying to use technology.
On film sets for, it's like, or even watching TV, watching game shows where it's like, the answer to something and somebody just can't get it.
Right.
So Snape is on the sidelines so frustrated because he's on a lower tier that he's been put at by all these other people who aren't at the top, and he's watching Lucius fail. So once he's put in that position of just like, frustratingly, it's like, no, this is the way you do it. This is the way you hold your wand. This is the way you launch your curses and hexes.
Right.
And it working, it causes this major shift, because at the end of the day, all everyone else cares about is whoever's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that power dynamic at the beginning of everyone immediately willing to jump over to, it's just like, oh, well, Severus knows how to do it, we're going to follow Severus,
right,
is a major blow to Lucius's ego and a major rise up of Snape's. It's like, yes, this is why I'm here. Listen to me and you'll do it right.
Right.
Yeah.
And, that immediately causes them to bump heads, because he's a peasant in comparison to how Lucius views himself. And it's such an offensive thing for Lucius to have Snape, of all people of his standing, come into this and take over.
Yeah. I love the scene between Narcissa and Lucius right afterwards, where she has to like calm him down.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a fun scene to do,
mm-hmm.
and I love how intimate it felt, even though we were on like opposite sides of the room.
Yeah, I mean, he walks up to her like when she's in the staircase, and basically the idea for that is that not only did I wanted to show that Lucius or Narcissa can temper Lucius, mm-hmm. but also they have an intimate relationship, and he respects her and loves her and cares about her, and vice versa.
I feel like she really stabilizes him at points where he's like, I wish you were coming with me.
Right. Yeah, because, he feels that she's on top of her game more than he is, at least at that moment.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about Narcissa when we were first kind of discussing bringing her into the fold, and the fact that despite the fact that Lucius is obviously featured a lot more heavily in the books and films, everything with Narcissa gives the impression that she is a lot more stable and in control of situations. And one of the biggest things with Snape's arc, and what kind of pushes him forward, is the unbreakable vow that he makes with Narcissa.
Yeah.
And that is a heavy thing for somebody to agree to do.
And we're going to kind of slightly emotionally have an understanding why they trust each other enough to do that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to playing that.
Later on in the series.
Yeah, because we can't avoid that because that is it's not really touched upon, but it is such an important part of how the books end up playing out towards the end.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's with Narcissa's kind of dealing with a lot of kind of crazy-ish people in her family, like her sister Bellatrix is just like, she knows how to kind of stabilize people to a point.
Sure. So when it comes to the next scene is James is at his house and he's like basically cleaning up what the mess he made from his, like his lash out of his parent, realizing his parents have a terminal illness, and committing to taking care of them.
Yeah.
Sirius shows up and says, "Hey man, let's get the band back together." And James is like, "Nah, I got to do this," and he won't say why. So I'm just kind of curious as to what you guys are thinking is going through everyone's heads as far as James and Sirius.
Well, I feel like Sirius is trying to hold everyone together desperately. Like, he's not wanting to be alone. He's like, come to my flat, stay with me. Here, I'll help you. Let's go get Peter back first, and then we'll go and get, we're going to bring everybody back together. I don't want to be alone.
You mean Sirius?
Yeah, Sirius.
Okay.
James is kind of like, I don't know where to stand anymore. I lost the fight. I lost my girl. My dad is dying. I threw a tantrum. I don't know what to do.
What we see from Sirius and his character, and a lot of this has to do with him being an Ask Man for a long time, after this, but he never grows up.
Yeah.
Sirius is the perpetual irresponsible, like carefree teenager.
Yeah.
It's like, the crazy uncle in the leather jacket, essentially.
Right.
And at this point, he's imagining, that they're all still going to be buds and they're all still going to get into trouble and just be wild guys. And now that they're out of school, he's not seeing it as growing up. He's seeing it as like, now we have a lot more time to be buddies and hang out.
Right.
And when he finally sees James again, this is James getting that big news from his parents of realizing, I got to grow up now.
Yeah.
I have to take responsibility and grow up. And I think Sirius is a little bit shaken by this because, the Marauders were all together, but the partnership between Sirius and James was just like, we're always on the same page here.
Yeah.
Right.
And now they're not.
Right.
Sirius is like, no, we're got to get the gang back together and then go be the Marauders. Except we have all this time to be the now.
Yeah.
We get to go to war
We have
and
no
be the Marauders.
teachers.
No teachers, no rules. We're crazy. And James is like, no, it's different now.
Yeah.
Like things have changed. There's been there's been some stuff that's come up.
And I certainly think that at the beginning of Severus Snape and the Marauders, James was also thinking that. And then Snape royally handed it to him. And he was like, oh, wait, we can't do this.
That revelation that his parents dropped on him changes everything.
Yeah.
It's an impending death of his parents that he's very, very close with.
Yeah.
And that hits him hard. We saw his breakdown. I mean, that breakdown
was
literally
intense.
broke down physically everything around him.
Yeah.
So when we see him piecing everything back together, I mean, you can take that as the metaphor that it is, that he's not only piecing back together the house, he's putting himself back together at that point, piece by piece.
That's right.
I mean, that scene is so intense because we hardly ever see any character do wandless magic that intensely.
Well, I always notice that if it's in a grave situation like life-threatening or overly emotional, the wandless magic comes through.
Yeah.
With Harry, like his hair is cut and as a little baby, so it grows back. With Neville as a baby, he's dropped out of a house and he bounces.
Yeah.
With
You see that a
Voldemort
lot
in a
with
fight,
kids.
when he watches Bellatrix get killed, he just explodes.
Yeah.
Things like that. So there's always wandless magic at these very specific moments, and I'm like, this is probably the most heartbreaking and anger-inducing thing that James could ever hear or see.
Yeah.
And to me, that's enough for an explosion.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we see a bit of that with the Obscuras too, as that recent development of just what happens when something is repressed. And
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're repressed way too much.
Yeah.
So we get to Snape and Luther going to London Natural History Museum, and I wanted to have I wanted to tell you guys I got a quick it's not a deleted scene, but it was originally written and stayed in the draft, the script for a long time before I was eventually outvoted by both Mick and Garrett and a lot of other people to not have this scene in there. But I wanted to real quick mention
trying to remember what it was, actually.
Yeah, so Luther is about to get the plant, right? Or talking about the plant, and then he basically says, "Snape, you handle this. I'm going to start a distraction." So then he starts reciting lines from Monty Python.
Oh, come on.
It's too much. It was way too much.
It was too much.
Way too much.
I could think that would have been really funny.
It would have been
then
really.
we're officially getting into wacky, zany territory.
Well, that's what I was
Yes.
trying to do. Is like have a bit of wackiness and show that this guy has this wicked, weird sense of humor, and then a scene later he kills someone.
Right.
Creates a massive contrast.
Yeah.
And it, rightfully, it was too much of a contrast. So that's fine. But I just wanted to talk about that real quick about that.
That would have been epic.
About that fun idea where he's moving around doing silly walks, talking about how he's going to hit people with fish.
it was just like, what? Okay, sure.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a little separating there.
It's a fun dynamic now because I have a co-writer and I have Mick as the producer who basically looks over and he'll basically say, "Hey, we need to add more of this.
Yeah.
You don't have enough of that, or this is too much, or I'm not sure how I feel about that, and here's why."
Yeah.
So now I have it's like, what do they call it? A brain trust that where we all work together and come up with these different things, and that's one of the things that got lost on the writing table, but. What do you think went through Snape's mind the moment he saw Luther kill a guy?
I don't think war really hits you until you see the real death repercussions of it in front of you. Like it is easy to talk about an ideal, talk about doing something, training for something, but when you see someone killed in front of you for the first time like that, and realizing that even though you didn't pull the trigger, you didn't flick the wand and say the words, you're an accessory. And because Snape was part of this plot, and he's the one who got caught stealing the plants, and because of it went in this direction where they were in the security room, he may not have been the one to decide to kill this guy. Yeah. But he feels that he's now part of this. He's in deep now. He is now an accessory to this man's death. And him, Luthor being a teacher that he didn't realize was a Death Eater until, he showed up. That's a lot to see somebody that you respect and have this affinity for and have this bond with so flippantly and quickly kill somebody. And the delivery afterwards of Luthor immediately is saying, it's just like, I told you I'm not fond of being called a professor, and just seeing how
sociopathic
he did it without any empathy for it. Right. Like it was a strictly in Luthor's mind a logical, non-emotional decision to kill this person who was not actually physically threatening them. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a battle. It wasn't a duel. It wasn't it's he, him or me. It was like, no, logistically speaking, he knows too much. He now has to die. Right. And even in the battle sequences that they were in, they're just like, he would understand if somebody got killed on the other side, if they're have a wand out and they're also launching spells. But to be in a small room with this person that isn't pointing a wand at them and to immediately just kill him, that was a lot to take. And I think by the time they get back to the house afterwards, Snape is really comprehending just how deep he is now. Right. It's almost like there's no turning back from him now.
Which is kind of interesting thinking along that lines, if knowing his story and what he does when Lily is suddenly put in danger because of his actions. It is kind of interesting to think with that.
Yeah, because
you mean later on?
Yeah, later on.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot. Because a lot of us get frustrated, and we have these thoughts of just like, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. But when it comes to like the intensity of it, of seeing it happen in front of you, it changes. Yeah, we don't act out on any violent impulses we have unless we are a violent or sociopathic person. Yeah, sure. And other than Snape killing killing Dumbledore due to, everything that transpired there, it's not like he was one of the Death Eaters out killing people.
Right.
He wasn't out taking people out. He wasn't one of the aggressors on the front lines.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is new to him.
Yeah.
This is a new thing for him to see happen before his eyes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now we have to get to the most important part of the episode, of course. Is when James goes to Hogwarts, kind of acting out after his father said, Hogwarts takes a little bit of our youth with it, which made him want to go to Hogwarts and feel his youth again for a second. And then he runs into Peeves.
He runs into Peeves.
Brilliantly voice acted.
So
That was a fun moment.
no, when Justin said he was
Recording
bringing Peeves in and that he's like, no, you're doing it, you're doing Peeves. I'm just like, oh, good, because the thing is like, I'm always worried about like, what characters I'm playing, whether or not they sound too much alike, and I'm like, oh, that's a separate world for me to play a character like Peeves that is so removed from playing Snape.
Yeah.
And I brought this up a couple times as far as like, we're talking about inspiration for Peeves and everything.
Yeah.
Like, while it wasn't direct, the thing I always think about with Peeves and like, this footage exists in some, Indiana Jones like storage facility somewhere. Yeah. But Peeves was shot for the first Harry Potter film.
I need to find that
he
now.
was
You won't.
No!
He was shot for the first Harry Potter film, and he was performed by Rick Mayall, who was Drop Dead Fred and The Young Ones, one of the greatest British comedians ever. David Tennant's source of inspiration for everything David Tennant does.
Wow.
Rick Mayall is like one of the funniest British comedians ever.
And they cut him out?
So here's the thing. So he was so funny on set, so outrageously hilarious, that they couldn't get a take without the kids cracking up.
Yeah.
And they tried everything. They put him on the other side of the room. They tried everything. And he was too funny. He was too good at playing this like outrageous poltergeist.
You're overqualified. We can't hire you.
Like, yeah, it's just that was
worst.
essentially what it was. But it also shows their original direction for it. Is the fact they had John Cleese and Rick Mayall playing these ghosts in Hogwarts, which is an outrageous combination.
Yeah.
There. But the fact that they shot that and just like, okay, I would love to go in that similar unhinged, psychotic, crazy comedic direction with him for the brief time that he's on there.
And you had some fun on that day.
Oh yeah.
I was like, everyone get your phones out. What is he doing right now?
I went off and I had so much fun like playing him. I love what Jordan did with the sound effects for it because we recorded a lot of like sort of just me, like laughing maniacally and like doing all these sort of sounds and stuff because I wanted to give the impression when you're in the room that he's buzzing around.
Yeah.
He's popping into different places.
Creates a three-dimensional space.
Yes.
And just having a ball. And, I think that Peeves was a bit irritated with James in different ways for like simultaneously seeing James grow up and mature a bit and not being the sort of troublemaker he is just like, no, you're here to cause trouble. You're not here to like fix things and everything like that. You're here to mess things up with me. And then gets pissed that like he's like looking at James as like, who the hell are you? You're James Potter. What do you mean you're not here to like mess things up and like be a source of chaos here? So he taunts James and he causes like these mishaps. But when he gets the impression that like James is irritated from seeing him, he's just like, oh, he's gonna mess up what I'm trying to do here and everything. I think Peeves gets frustrated. He's just like, you were like my favorite. You're supposed to be the one who's like a continuous cause of chaos and destruction, and now you're like all grown up and responsible. And like
it's interesting. It's interesting that you see that point of view. I saw the point of view because I needed a plot point for Peeves to mention the map, and I wrote that he's not so tough without your stupid map, and because it made me think. Because there's a little piece in the map that says Peeves lurks here, at least in the movie version. Obviously, the book version has no visuals, but
the movie has no Peeves.
Yeah. But it always made me think that that map had a magical property to know where Peeves was, and that the Marauders could do something about him. So there are only a few people in the school who could best Peeves and do something about him. One is Dumbledore, and the other I thought would have been fun would be the Marauders.
Yeah.
Because they
and the Bloody Baron.
And the Bloody Baron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I felt that he harbored a resentment toward the Marauders because he was the only one who was able to ruin his fun.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it. But it was just an emotional motivation to like I gotta have a reason to bring up for someone to bring up the map.
Yeah, because of course, we haven't gotten into the map yet.
No.
Yeah, we will.
Although I am so glad I was not on the mic when you started doing the Peeves voice because I didn't know you were gonna do that. And I literally, I was in the sound recording studio, so I wasn't on the mic. You couldn't hear me, and I went, "Whoa!" Because I was not expecting that to come out of you. I was like, "He's so good."
No, I mean, there's different categories and registers. You understand. Just like you have your collection of like villainous voices where you're going in like a certain register for that. You're into protagonist, antagonist, and you just have like a collection of like just insane voices.
Yeah,
Yep.
of course. Those are the fun ones.
Yeah, and they're also just like you also know that like these are ones that that work in your register that you don't have to force. You can actually get some different emotion out of it.
Yeah.
Because you know how you know how it is. Where it's
Yeah.
like there's voices you can do for like brief periods of time. You can't be conversational in them.
Yeah.
Because it's just like they're outside your register enough that you can't get a natural performance out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is like a type of voice that I've done for animated things before where I'm just like, this is one that if he has a long monologue or something like that, I can sustain and find levels with Peeves' voice at that point.
Yeah.
That I can kind of play with.
Right.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Although nothing beats the audition for Mrs. Norris a couple episodes ago.
I just finished editing episode 7, and it has our mystery actor playing Mrs. Norris, and every time I was like listening to it, I was like, oh my god, this is so good.
We'll almost definitely have behind the scenes footage from the audition process for that.
That was just
I think it was
so much fun.
Literally the only the only character that had as much excitement for everyone wanting the role next to Dobby.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember doing the Dobby thing too, just going around the room and being like, let's see who does Dobby the best. Which of course was Zach.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yes, of course.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging.
Absolutely. And just a message to everybody, since this will be out, we're working on episode 7 right now.
Yep.
Where everything's, life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
So, it's life first with this project, so it does take longer, but we are working on it. Actually, I finished editing episode 7 today, I'm uploading all 10 gigabytes of sound to the internet for Jordan to grab and start mixing. And this is going to be an intense episode, at least as far as like it's going to be very densely packed with sound. Yeah. So it'll take a little bit of time. Not as much time as episode 4, because that was like coming up with stuff from scratch to create a werewolf running through the streets of some town in England. But it'll still be pretty intense. So it'll take some time, but hopefully not too much longer.
But yeah, we can absolutely promise, for anybody worried about, the length of time that takes out, everything will be out. There's absolutely no doubt or worries whatsoever in this being this story having a conclusion.
Not completing,
Because we know that there have been those projects that people get really into and never finish, and those are the worst.
Yes,
they are.
And I understand it, but it's difficult as an audience member.
Yeah, but we have an ending. There is an ending to this story.
Oh, yeah.
And
we got an end.
Yeah, we will absolutely.
I've written episodes 9 and 10. 11 and 12 have bullet points. It's all there. It's just we need the time to do it.
Yeah.
Which we do. It's just in pieces.
Yeah. But it will all find its conclusion undoubtedly.
Yeah.
I'm living my best life right now.
Yay.
I'm part of a Broad Strokes production. I was
thank you.
able to do an interrogation scene as Narcissa, and now I'm on a talkback podcast. So.
Yay. That was fun
I'm
too.
happy.
That was fun too, because you were like about to get like the costume and the wig, and And you're like, I'm like, which one are you considering? Like, maybe the pure blonde. I'm like, good, pure blonde, do it.
Yeah, because I was like, do you want movie accurate or
Like, no,
book
no, no,
accurate?
which
I'm so glad.
We've already seen the movie.
Because I don't like the movie version of her hair. I'm just like, what is her hair? And it's like black on top and then blonde on bottom, and it confuses me to no end.
Probably they did tests and it just was too much blonde.
I think they
screen.
probably were like, she looks too much like Lucius's sister.
Maybe.
I think that's what they ended up doing.
Yeah,
but
you wanted to differentiate them.
Yeah, but I'm
Right.
like, okay, sure, but I never liked the choice that they made with her
Sure.
hair. So when you were like, get the book version, I was like, yes.
All right.
Book version.
Cool.
Yes.
We'll be doing more of those. We'll be doing more of those interrogations.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
Every
I
episode.
don't think we're going to be interrogating Peeves, but we'll see. We'll see what
That would be so
we'll
good,
see
though.
if Peeves makes a another appearance in the future. We'll see.
That would be so
I'll tell you
good.
what, if we get to like $1,000 a month on the Patreon, I will create a visual representation of Peeves with VFX. How
Or
about
just
that?
put Mick in makeup.
But I need him to look like a ghostly poltergeist.
I know how to do that. That's not hard.
Seen Mick in
Okay.
makeup?
Well, I'm talking about like he's got to look see-through and fly around.
Oh, well, that's not
Can't
hard.
do
That's
that.
not hard
That's
at all.
not
Do
hard.
that.
You
I'll
can
just
do
call
that.
a real poltergeist.
Yeah,
It'll
it's
be fine.
Fine, I know a few.
Okay.
Have you met Mick?
Have I meant? Yes, I have, actually.
Oh, good.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Peace.